This morning, I'm talking about a subject, and I'm introducing us into something that's going to take us, God willing, into the next few weeks, maybe months. Last year, for those of you that have been with us, you know we were talking through the book of Exodus, the book of Joshua, and we looked at all those amazing accounts of God's word that actually points to Jesus. But in the next month going forward, I am doing a kind of a starter up, a kind of a curtain raiser for what's coming. And it's about getting to know Jesus more in actual things that he did. So we're going into the book of Mark from next week. Into the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark, which is one of the earliest written Gospels. Gospel actually equals good news. That's what it means. The good news. The Gospel of Jesus, the good news of Jesus. And so that account of the book of Mark, it's got 16 chapters, and we're going to go through a few weeks. Excuse me. And so today, I want to take us through a thing of discovery, basically. And so now, what are we learning? You will never know unless you asked or inquired or try to find out. Do you know some people, maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, we could be sitting in church for years, but we don't know Jesus. We don't know Jesus. If I had to send this mic around you and ask different people, now I'm saying this just from a point to provoke us, to stretch us. Stretching is good because it builds capacity. If I had to ask you some things like I did last week, what are the 3 fundamental things that we do as Christians as breathing? Simple as breathing. Many of you will say some things now because we sat in here last week. And perhaps you will make some points, and maybe you'll even elaborate a few things. But I find that lots of people can be a long time in a certain place, but don't know much. Today, the big word I want to throw out to us is the word called relationship. Relationship. Now, my dear wife, can I worry you to come up here 1 minute, please, Auntie Faith? And the guys were preaching at your dad's funeral yesterday. Said, he kept the faith. He kept the faith. I was going to stand up and say, me too. In the funeral service. I'm still keeping the faith. In more ways than one. But I want to make a confession this morning. Faith's going to tell you how she pursued. No. How I pursued her, all right? I knew Faith, and I didn't really know her all that well. I met her at a youth meeting, and then I saw her again 5 years later. And there was, we see lots of people, but there was no connection. And then like 5 years later, good church boy that I was, driving the church Kumbi. I drove past their house, and his sister was sitting outside. Some of you know the story, forgive me, and some of you maybe don't. And then as we drove down the road where she lived, we were showing her sister, my friend and I, me and another guy in church, the young guys. We were young guys driving to church Kumbi. And we thought it was Faith sitting outside in the garden there. So we were showing playful fist and punch and monkey face and driving down the road.
The good Christian guys.
Sorry, Faith?
No, the good Christian guys.
Yes, amen. And so, as we drove past, we realized that Faith wasn't happy about our jokes. And we said, I think we dialed the wrong number. And we did. It was her sister. Her sister, in the meantime, ran in the house and said, Faith, I think those boys thought I was you. And they were like teasing and stuff like that. And they were having a good giggle. As good Christian boys that we were, we turned the combi around, went back to apologize. And when we got there, we met Faith and family, and we were saying, hey, sorry, man, we misunderstood. We mixed up Faith, and the sister. And Faith can tell you then after that what she asked me to do. You don't mind, Faith? Yeah.
I very innocently
Don't add extra words.
said, can you please give me some guitar lessons? This was on a Sunday afternoon. Monday night, the man was there. Guitar and all. And came to sing songs like, in moments like these. Oh, I love you with the love of the Lord. And I'm being serious. And so he couldn't teach me anything. The guitar, the next time he came to visit, there was no guitar. Thank you.
Thank you, Faith. I must be a bad teacher. We're going to be married 40 years coming up in October. She still don't know how to play the guitar. But it's funny, you never know, and then things happen, and then the relationship. And I was going all the time. When you love somebody, you want to be with them. You want to get to know them. I want to learn more of this person. That's what love is. And so today, this relationship I'm talking about with me and yourself, with Jesus, it has to be a love relationship. I'm using a natural relationship to explain a spiritual parallel, equivalent, if I could say that. And so I want to strongly encourage you. If you go and visit somebody that you supposedly have an interest in, and you find your mother comes out and say, let me use like maybe Terence. Terence, this is now, how many years you married, Terence? 24 years. Like you guys are like in the same sort of bracket, eh? Nikesh? Let's say 23, 22 years ago, your mother will come to Terence and say, excuse me, Terence, it's 7 o'clock now, you're supposed to go visit Fiona. Ma, wait, Ma, I'm still busy, I still have to, I'll go later. But most times I found out that the fathers-in-law, or the prospective father-in-law, has to come outside and say, excuse me, boy, you're a bit too long here now, we need family time. And I know some of the very old guys who used to court, apparently, Uncle Dharma, I don't know if this is true, but some of them told us stories that the father-in-law, the future prospective father-in-law, you're going to see the girl now, he'll light the candle and leave it. And if the candle comes down and you're still hanging out, say, but what you doing here? You need to move now. You knew it was a sign now. You spent your time, parking meter expired, you need to be gone. Apparently, some of the old stories. But one thing I have never found that the parent or someone has to say to the person, you need to go visit your girlfriend now. I'll go next week, Ma. Hey, we don't have that problem. It's the other way around, isn't it? Because where there's true love there, it's easy to go. You want to be there. And so today, I know you're working me out. I know you're figuring me out. The thing what I am trying to say is, when you love, it's easy to be there. But when you don't love, it's hard work. Anybody who loves, doing is easy. But when you find it's hard work, you and I got to ask ourselves the question, have I lost love? Have I lost love? And that is why today I want to take you to Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. Philippians 3:10 in the New Testament. I'm going to leave you with a few scriptures. And there's a few scriptures, random scriptures, or a few other places. But I want to leave it with you. But I want you to understand, and from beyond and moving beyond understanding, I'm trusting that you will have not just a cognitive experience where you are working it out here, But I pray that you will have a personal, experiential journey with Jesus, where you will experience Him. Like we heard Yesh and Nes were saying, they kind of knew it was right, but they had to work a few things out, and then before they knew it, they were getting married. They sorted it out. In the same way, many of us, I have a sneaky suspicion, many church-going people are having a kind of a courtship with Jesus, checking Him out, but have not put the ring on the finger. Have not said publicly, I do. And with the result, you live all your life, I kind of like Him, I'm not against Him, but I haven't really said I want to be His partner. I want to be with Him. I want to be in a love relationship publicly. You know, when a guy puts that engagement ring on a girl's finger, you know what he's telling the world? He's telling the world, I'm done now thinking it may be that one, or it may be that one, or it may even be that one. I'm done with that. I know who it is. And I'm going to grow old with you, girl. And I'm here till the end. I'm not looking over the fence, looking for other opportunities. When you make a commitment and a covenantal union with somebody, that's what you're saying. And so therefore, when it comes to Jesus as well, you can't say you love Jesus, but you got girlfriends all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Other things that win your affection and your love. I want to be dedicated to just one person. And I want to appreciate all of you who've done just that over the years. God bless you. God bless you for being faithful and being faithful and pushing through. And if you are there right now, stay there and continue loving God. So in Philippians, do we have that? Thank you. Chapter 3, verse number 10. Paul is writing to the church at Philippi, who were called the Philippians. That's how the whole thing comes out, right? To the Philippian church, in the 3rd chapter, the 10th verse, I want to know Christ. Yes, to know the power of His resurrection and participation in His sufferings, becoming like Him in His death. Right, it's right there, just that one verse. I want to read another version, it's called the Amplified Version, which is basically trying to amplify, as the word implies. Let me read it to you. It's in my notes here. And this, so that I may know Him, experientially becoming more thoroughly acquainted with Him, understanding the remarkable wonders of His person more completely, and in the same experience, the power of His resurrection which overflows and is active in believers, and that I may share the fellowship of His sufferings by being continually conformed inwardly into His likeness, even to His death and dying as Jesus did. Dear friends, I hope you all keyed in with me this morning and haven't gone out shopping. Stay keyed in for this moment. Stay keyed in, because it's key that you do. I want to encourage you, Christianity means nothing. It's just rigorous routine and ritual if you just do this thing and go away, but you don't know the central person in all what this means. It's Jesus. We sang the song, It's All About You, Lord. And I want to encourage every one of us. Church is not about me just meeting my friend and hanging out with my favorites and being with the songs I like and in the company I like. And that's all very key. But more, I beg of you. And me, I'm a relational chap. I love everybody. I love being with people. People are my life. I love it. We gave our life for this. And we don't do this like, oh, I love church, but people I can't stand. We don't. That's not how it comes. We love people. And I know we all have different relational quotients. You know what I mean? Some of you can go around and hug every little baby, kiss every granny, and you move all around the place. You just love, love, love. And others of us are a little bit shy. And you can greet 2 grannies and 2 babies. I'm not better than you. And you're not any worse than me. Everyone has a relational quotient. Are we all good so far? But you must have the willingness to say, we ought to be doing that. Not me. It's just me and the Lord. Me and Jesus. That don't work, friends. God never called us goats. Goats live by themselves in splendid isolation. He called us sheep. By that inference, we are gregarious. We click together. We are close. We stay in big numbers. And we feel good in company. That's what Jesus called us. He's the good shepherd. We are the sheep of his pasture. So this thing about knowing Jesus. Number one, the first thing is, for you to want to know him, you've got to love him. And I'm sharing a little bit of this as a testimony. As my personal testimony. Just my personal testimony. I was a church boy. My mom and her mom, they were church people. We were Anglicans. We're at St. Paul's in Long Market Street, Holy Angels here in Imam Road. That's where we originate from. And my granny was a diehard Victorian Church of England girl, Rosie Solomon. And so we grew up and we didn't know much. My father, he loved everybody, but he went nowhere. You know, he didn't fight with anybody, but church was not his big thing. He got married to my mother by my granny's instructions. Unless you get baptized in the church, you're not marrying Cynthia. He said, no problem. He went, he got sprinkled. They named him Bernard, Brother Bernard. And Brother Bernard never came back to church. He got married. He was a happy boy. That was my father. And my mother used to take us to the Anglican church. We used to go in. I knew church, I knew Jesus, I knew about the Bible. I never read the Bible. I never liked reading it. I want to, but I can't. Even my Hindu teacher used to tell us in school, hey, listen, class, whichever God you pray for, at night you must try and kneel by your bedside and thank Almighty for the day. You know, I couldn't even do that. But I never hate God. I wasn't a bad sinner. I was quite a decent sinner. I'm just 15 years old and trying to do the best we can. But I never knew Jesus. I never knew him. I knew about him. But today, you and I can know a lot of famous people because of what the media says, what the write-up says. Did you have a coffee with that person? Did you sit with some famous person and have a cup of tea with them and ask them questions and stuff? It's very, very, very different. I remember my late friend Sashi, that used to be a son in this house. And Sashi Premchand was a musical producer, not producer, he was like, he used to do all the ground administration for people that came in. And he took care of some big names, you know, Boys to Men, one of the names, and many others. And he invited Faith, myself, and so on to Durban, to one of these very plush Amshlanga hotels, the Pearl. And we went there. What is this lady's name? Robiness. All your old-time disco boys know one of her Robin, her famous song that she used to play. Now, I'm sitting here meeting Robiness. She came to do a show in Durban. And he says, I want them to meet my pastor. I said, okay. I'm sitting in this very fancy apartment, and it was really top dog place, and gold toilet pans, no. And as we were sitting around chatting with this lady, I'm sitting here and she's sitting across me. So we're chatting, and what do I say to her? How's the word of God appearing to you? You know, I'm talking to Robin S. now. She's sitting in front of me. She's a lighty. She's younger than me. Slightly younger than me. And then, whilst chatting, I found out that she loves Jesus. In fact, there's a lot of superstar people that don't deny Jesus. They know who's Jesus. They have a form of a relationship with Jesus, which I can't question. It's between them and God. We are not here to be judges of anybody. We have only one judge over all of us. All we got to do is encourage people to meet the Master. And we hope that we too will find a growing relationship with the Master that we say we love and serve. That's all we can do. And then while sitting there, I said to the Lord, Lord, it feels quite fancy to sit here and talk to some super mogul lady, but how amazing it is to have you, Jesus, the Lord of the universe, as my one-on-one person. And with no discredit to the lady and all her accomplishments, it's something that just sobers me up. There is nothing more than Jesus. Nothing more than knowing this amazing King of Kings and Lord of Lords. For you here today, as you've gotten to know your spouse, as you've gotten to know friends that you work with, I found out another little thing, which I'm going to read the scripture for you. It's found in Mark chapter 3, verse 14. If you're taking notes, right? Mark 3:14. It says, and he appointed, that means Jesus appointed 12 that they might be with him and that he might send them out to preach. Now, don't leave the room. Stay with me very close. Jesus appointed 12 so that they may be with him, so that he may send them to preach. Now, so much can be unpacked from just those few lines. Let me venture on to say just a few things regarding that. Jesus chose 12. He chose them. He handpicked them. Then it says that they may be with him. You know, when that scripture says that they must be with Jesus, they didn't come to church on Sunday and meet Jesus in the Jewish synagogue every Sunday morning for 1.5 hours and go away. They stayed in Jesus' house. Jesus stayed in their house. You know, they say when you live with people and you see how they look in the morning, it can be terrifying, eh? You see how they look when they wake up. You can hear how they snore at night. You know, all these very vulnerable things about one. You know, we can all look prim and proper. You know, I'm zhuzhy, I'm dressed up. But when people see you in your most vulnerable, most down to earth, that's when they know you for who you really are. Not who you make up yourself to be, like the birthday girl. She did some makeup. You get that picture. I'm saying we make ourselves up. But sometimes when you're staying with somebody in their home, you see them for who they are actually, how they wake up in the morning, what's their moods like, and all these little vulnerable details come out. And Jesus stayed with his disciples. In fact, one of Jesus' disciples called John the Beloved, it says that he used to put his head on Jesus' chest and sleep sometimes. They were walking, and those days was no Uber and Bolt and all that. The only Bolt they had was a donkey. And they would walk for miles and they'd be tired, the dusty sands. And when they got to the next place where they're going to share or preach or whatever, they were tired. Sometimes they'll sit down maybe on a chair or something on the side of the road, and they just went up to sleep. It says that John used to actually lie on Jesus' chest and hear the heartbeat of God. That's how close he was. You see, friends, lots of us, we know each other, we know a little bit about each other because you can come, but don't come too close. Like, stay there. Don't come too close into my space. You see, when you walk with Jesus, he gets right into your space. You see, when you invite Jesus into your home, Either you treat him as a guest or you treat him as a resident in the home. When I go to someone's home, I sit in the first chair where they point to me. And I do not wake up and go open the fridge or walk into the bedroom and see what kind of curtains they got. I sit there where they told me to sit, and I respect the house. But if I go to another house, maybe I will be a whole lot more comfortable. When I come home to my place, I don't say to my wife, sorry, Faith, can I open the fridge, please? I think I'm feeling a bit thirsty for some cold drink. I open the fridge. I open the pot to see what's cooking. I check things out because I'm part of the family. Lots of church people or people who follow Jesus, they serve Jesus as an everlasting visitor. You serve the Lord like you're a guest in Jesus' family. You come in, you sit in that one place, you touch nothing else, you visit nothing else, you move nothing else, you get up, you go to your vehicle or whatever, and you leave. 30 years have gone, that's what you've been doing. But there are some of us who will say, I'm no more a guest here. I'm part of the family. When I get to be part of the family, the more comfortable you are, the more easy. I'm not saying all of you must wake up now and go and check the fridge. I don't think there's much there, by the way, but I'm just saying. You get the analogy. You've got to get comfortable with God. You've got to start opening the scriptures. You've got to start getting to know more things. You've got to want to talk about stuff. You want to become more freer to share what Jesus means to you. And as all these things become easier to do, it shows that you're more comfortable in the house of the Lord. And I want to encourage you about that. It says Jesus chose 12 that they may be with him. And that is why sometimes, if some of you wonder why do we as leaders sit together and have meals? Why do we sit and have a meal? Do you know, having a meal, according to scriptures, it is one of the most spiritual things you can do. You know, to invite a family to your home, it doesn't have to be a fancy meal. It can be a very simple meal, and the pride thing must die. We're not here to impress. We have to get the things done. The right things done. It doesn't have to be impressive. Sometimes people say, when they come to my house, I can't give them this. You know, it's a pride thing. You hear me? It's a pride thing, people. The big thing is, I want to pour my life into somebody. I saw that family in church. My goodness, my heart is so warmed up to that person. And I want to get to know them. Maybe one of the days you can discuss, let's have them home. Let's have them for tea. Let's get to know them. Let's pray with them. Let's say hi to them. Or whatever the case is. Are you with me, folks? This is when you start seeing that Jesus in you wants to touch other people and more of Jesus must be in them. And some of you can actually do something to bless somebody or to encourage somebody or just to say, I really have such a heart about so-and-so. Some of you might be also saying, one day when I have a lot of money in the bank, when I have a real big house with a real big dining room table, then I will do this and why don't we start with the small table that you got? Why don't you invite 2 people and invite them for tea? A friend of mine, some of you know him, Tony Sivright. He's from Joburg. He's from Randburg, Fourways, from the Fourways area. He was a rough folk. His family, his father was a jockey, rode Sea Cottage. That was his father. Some of the old guys who used to punt a bit, you know who's Sea Cottage. And you'll know the rider. That was Tony Sivright's father. And Tony today is a pastor in Joburg. Very, very radical oak. He makes us uncomfortable. He cannot disturb you. You'll think this oak is something wrong with him. He's very radical about his faith. And even I get a bit nervous of him sometimes. But you know what his plot is for this next while? He wants to have almost the whole church come to his house through the course of the weeks and have lunch at his house. He's busy, got his secretary helping him to say which family comes when. And they're cooking and they're having fellowship with every family in the church every other Sunday when he's there. He travels a lot. So they're planning it through the course of the year. He wants to have 600 families in his home across the week, not necessarily weekends, whenever. That's his desire. Very radical cats. And I want to encourage all of us. Some of you got so much, but you're very tight with what God's given you. I want to challenge us to be a blessing. To be a blessing. Some people just need a little embrace, that hug. Pastor never tell me what I must do. No. When you talk to Jesus, and Jesus is talking to you, and you're getting to know how his heart works, and he will talk to you and he'll show you things to do, you don't need pastor to tell you anything. You need the master to tell you everything. I want to just encourage you. Don't come into a place, into a setup where if the pastor didn't tell us, we don't do it. Pastor didn't say we must fast, we're not fasting. You let the Lord lead you. At times, as a church, yes, we will do some things together. But when you follow Jesus, let the Lord speak and see what God is saying in your life. And you'll be amazed. Your Christianity is Jesus-focused, Jesus-followed. It is not just the church told me to do this, but now it's me and Jesus. We're walking together. I'm so grateful to be a part of this family. I was saying this morning, I have the privilege of leading the greatest church in this country and in this planet. Me and my wife. We have the privilege of leading this most amazing church in this country and in the world. Anthony, that's a huge statement. Anthony, there are better churches than you. No, I'm not talking about what they got and who they are and how much they have. I thought if I died, God forbid, but if I pass on, let me ask you a question. Who do I spend the most of my life with? It's you people. Not even my own family. My brother Eddie, he's in Durban. I see him now and again. It's precious moments. But who do I spend more time with? My wife spends more time with you than with their own biological family. So when I die one day, who are the people that I poured my life with? Who walked with me? Who journeyed with me 52 weeks in a year? Who are the people we talked with, engaged, we loved, we encouraged, we smiled, we cried about things? Who? It's you. I have to learn how to be patriotic and loyal and covenantal. Some people are members of this church, but they brag about every other church. But you don't even brag about your own church. Oh, that church. Oh, we must see. Oh. Now, I'm not against any church. Please don't hear me wrongly. I am saying, if you can't celebrate your wife, don't celebrate other people's wives. Am I making sense? I hardly talk about my wife, but I'm talking about this one's wife. Anthony, what's your problem? Something's not right about that. So this is my wife, proudly so, and I'm happy. She never paid me to say anything. I'm saying it. But all I'm saying is, if you're part of a local fellowship, love your house. Love the place where God planted you. Because if you don't love it, you won't serve it. If you don't love it, you won't believe in it. And you won't bother if they're dead or they're living or they're breathing or whatever. But because there are people in this house who love and care, amazing things happen. Now forgive me, I'm going to digress just for a moment. I'll digress for just a moment. Unfortunately, there's a community that we work with. And it's our community. I'll tell you this much. We don't talk about things to people that we need to talk to about anything. We talk to every other person who don't need to know about it, but we don't talk to the people who we need to talk to. We are a bit shy like that. You know, it's like if I got something on with Terence, I'm using Terence in the front row. I'll talk to Faith. I'll talk to Uncle Krish. You know, we must please pray together, Uncle Krish, Faith, for Terence. You know, Terence, you know, we need to pray for him, the Lord myself. Did you ever talk to Terence? No, I never talked to Terence. Why didn't you talk to him? No, it's awkward, you know, it's awkward. Rather, we can talk about him. Most of us do that. So sometimes when I think something is secret, I find out the whole town knows about it, but I'm thinking it's confidential, but everybody knows. I get quite bombed. So a little while ago, some of you may have seen at times, used to be Jennifer, late Jennifer, Ravi, you here? I'm talking about your good lady, Jennifer. Jennifer started something, bless her soul, a couple of years ago, when we were all as a church, we were going through some challenges. A person like Jennifer, because that was Jennifer, that's who she was. She was out there in everybody's face, loving, caring, giving, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody across the board. And so she got all of Faith and myself one day and she said, listen, you, from what I've been praying for you, and this is what God said to me. All you may be thinking about is all these issues and matters that need to get sorted out and stuff. So she started something called Come and Dine with Me. And so she picked up a few couples from the church, about 3 or 4 couples, and she said, Faith, Anthony, on certain once a month, I want you to come and your wife, we're going to sit together, we're going to have an evening of laughter, we're going to eat variety of food, and we're going to and nobody's talking church things at all. No church stories. Just enjoy each other's company, chat, and so on. And you know what, friends? That was so encouraging for us as a people. We are just people. We might be pastor and all that, but we are just people. And that's why I say, if I am in a box here, I am grateful to God that we've done life with people. And today, my encouragement to you is, as you get to know Jesus more, you will get to know how Jesus thinks. You'll get to know what Jesus did, where he comes from. But if you never spend time with Jesus and talk, and I'm using the example of the young couple here, I'm inferring of them. Can you picture them standing? If you never ask those questions, you won't know what they did. And you know, how long are they married? How did they meet? In the same way, I want to ask you, number one, Jesus, forgive me, Lord, if I seem to have lost love for you. The Revelation says, restore my first love. I'm almost closing. Restore my first love, Lord. That love I had for you in the beginning. And I remember the love that I had for Jesus as being an Anglican boy. One day I went to that campaign and the man of God preached and I felt God touch me. I felt tears coming down my face. I'm a little boy, youngster, teenager. I felt the love of God in my heart. I lived here in Marion Road that time. And I remember we walked to the Northdale Stadium. We were young, we were just walking, we had no transport. And we'd walk back in the rain and everything, we'll get back. And I'd get into my room and I will take my dad's piano accordion and I'll bang the bass keys, you know, on the squash box. And I play the bass keys, oh, how I love Jesus. And I'll cry. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because he first loved me. I will sing that over and over again and just be in love with Jesus. I want to say to you today, people of God, don't just be in love with the building. Don't be in love with what we do, the activities. please, we appreciate all that. And we try to do our best. If there's an activity, we want to do our best. If we want to do the building, we want to try and do it as best as we can. But don't fall in love with that and Jesus a second. Let Jesus be number one in your life. In your life. In your life. Let him be number one. Paul says these words, that I may know him. That I may know him. Hello, somebody. Excuse me, Paul. If I had to just play this out quickly as I land. Paul, how can you say that I might know him? Because Paul had Jesus send a bright light from heaven, knock him down from that donkey or whatever he was riding. He heard Jesus' voice. Does any of you here can stand up and say, I had that experience? We never had that experience. Paul says later on in his writings, the Spirit took me up to the third heavens and I heard conversations in glory. He says, but I know of a man, but he didn't want to say it was him. He was too humble to want to say it was him. And sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes even preacher people, we can be proud. Last night while I was waiting on the Lord, this is what the Lord showed me. And Paul comes and said, I just was in his presence, and this is what I feel God is saying, and it's humble. No pomp, no arrogance, no pride. It's humble. I'm humbled. People, one day I was driving my car down Marnie Road, Greytown Road. Marnie Road was on the right-hand side. And you heard my story. And this is, not the story is not the big thing. It's what struck me later. What struck me after that incident. As I'm driving down my Corona Mark II Toyota Sovereign, automatic, I heard this voice say to me, go and visit your friend in Marnie Road. I said, Lord, but I haven't seen that oak for years, like 2-3 years. I haven't seen him. He may be relocated. He might not even be staying there. Go visit your friend. I said, I couldn't shake that voice off. I turned the car around. I went into Marnie Road. I walked to the back where this guy I knew he was staying, wondering if he's still there. And so I finally get to the back. He lives in this outbuilding. There's a toilet adjoining on a separate door. And he has a front door and he has a couple of rooms. And that's where he was staying, in the back in Marnie Road. So I go to the door of his front door and I knock. And I wait to hear if someone's going to answer. No answer. And then the creaky door on the side where the toilet is, and the door creaks open. Who's there? I said, hey, it's Anthony, yeah. How are you, bro? It's quiet. I start to walk towards the toilet, where the toilet door was ajar. And as the door opened full, there's this man standing there, and the rope is ready to put around his neck. He's busy getting ready to hang himself. I'll never forget that in my life. It's like happened yesterday. He started crying. I said, I don't know why God told me to come and see you. But now I know why. We got to chatting. I hugged him. We spoke. And thank God the man was fine. There's the punchline. I said, Jesus, imagine if I didn't go. How would I live with myself if I heard later this is what happened to him? And more than that about just if it was about me, more than that. Number one, this main one is, I said, Jesus, I am so humbled that a huge, amazing God like you, so powerful, you can choose to use a weak piece of flesh like this, me. I am nothing. I am amazed that you will choose to use me, Lord, to be a help to another person. I'm humbled that you would use me, Lord. And I'm so grateful that I could be of your service. I want to say to every one of you, no matter how weak you may feel, no matter how small you may feel, no matter what your thought about yourself is, get to know the King, be in His presence, ask Him to just grow that love thing in you. And as that love grows in you, what you have to do will become easier. You don't need the pastor to tell you, hey, you need to read your Bible. I feel bad to tell people that. It's like telling you, don't forget you must love your wife. Don't forget you must brush your teeth. It's like things you should be doing. But if you're not doing it, something's wrong. So as I close, God grant all of us this thing about that I might know him. Paul knew Jesus more than any one of us, but he still said that I might know him. Just because some of you know John 3:16, you think you know the whole Bible. There's so much more. Don't ever think that you got this whole ocean figured out. It's too much to know. It's too vast. May God grant every one of you a revelation of who Jesus is, and every one of you will become more and more of what Jesus wants us to be. Would you mind stand with me, please? Would you mind stand with me? We're going to close. I want to leave this moment just open for just a pause before I just pray and hurry us all off, if you don't mind. I want us just to consider what I've said. And as the weeks come up ahead, we're going to be unpacking more on the book of Mark and looking at the journey of Jesus in his earthly life. In his earthly life. And I pray that God will give us more and more revelation. But the big one I want to ask you today, right here, how's your love life with the King? How's your love life, your relationship with Jesus? I want you just to bow your heads. Just to bow your heads and think carefully what I'm saying. How's your love life with the King, with King Jesus? Because I can tell you this much. He loves me and he loves you so much, he already proved it. But it's just for us, how do we reciprocate for the incredible love he gave to us? And if you want to, if you're comfortable to, can you sing that same chorus with me as we close? Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus, because he first loved me. Without him, I can do nothing. Oh, without him, I'll surely fail. Without him, I will be drifting like a ship without a sail. Oh, how I love Jesus. To close. Oh, let's sing it to the Lord. You sing it to Jesus. You tell the Lord. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy. Just sing it out. Oh, how, oh, I love him, I love him, I love him. Oh, how Jesus, because he first loved me. Thank you, Lord. Father, thank you so much for the way you loved us and made us your family. And Lord, I pray today that you will grant every single one of us, youngest to the oldest, that we will have a brand new revelation of this glorious Jesus. Some of us have been walking with you, Lord, for years, and sometimes we become kind of taking you for granted. We're always referring to what we experienced last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But help us to have new experiences today, tomorrow, and for the days ahead. Brand new encounters with the King of Kings. That our love life with Jesus will just accelerate. And Lord, that living for you will just become so simple, so easy. No stress, no strain, just effortless beauty. I thank you for every man, woman, boy, and girl in this place. I pray for myself and all of us included. Thank you for this house. Thank you for this family. Thank you for the people that are in this family. Those that are not even here at the moment, we bless you for them. We thank you that you are teaching us. You are guiding us by the power of your Spirit. And Lord, thank you as we leave this church door. Our life is never going to be the same again. Never going to be the same again. Never going to be the same again. Lord, as we enter February, which is called the Love Month, may we realize there's no one else more better to love than King Jesus. And Lord, may you be the lover and the center of our lives in more ways than one. So Lord, when I know how to love you, I'll know how to love my spouse better. I'll know how to love my children better. I'll know how to love life and love people better when I know how to love Jesus better. Will you help us, Lord? Will you fill us with your Spirit? Will you cause us, oh God, to grow every day deeper and deeper in love with you, Lord? I pray there will be revelation as people read your word. I pray that people will, in their time of prayer, will encounter fresh moments with their King. God, I pray there will not be a boring session, but there will be a life-generating moment when people spend time with their Master in prayer. God, I pray for many testimonies that's going to come. And I pray, Father, that testimonies will flow. And now lastly, Lord, I pray that as they leave this building and this fellowship, may they share their faith wherever they go, by the lives that they live, by the words that they speak. May Jesus be represented well. We love you. We give you praise. We give you glory for this morning. Keep us safe. Keep us faithful. Keep us loving and serving you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Let's give the Lord a big clap offering. We love you, Jesus. We were going to pray for some of the leaders today. You notice we haven't, for a few obvious, some reasons. We've parked that for the 11th of February. We're going to be praying for all leaders and all those who are involved in the church. And we'd love for you to come and just love them and bless them and pray for them as we pray together. You have an awesome rest of the day, and thank you for being here. God bless you all. Good, Tees?